Hello.
Hello.
How you doing?
I'm good.
That's a hell of a ceiling you've got there, dude. Are you in the studio?
Upside down, yeah.
Yeah, amazing. Beautiful. So, shall we just start?
Yeah, we could start. Yeah, sure.
Okay, so welcome to the very first, you are the guest on our very first Talkfest video blog. And it's more fitting because I noticed that the Clapcast is on its 500th edition. Like last week, you've posted the 500th one. You really love your soul music, don't you?
Yeah, I mean, I kind of love the soul and funk. I love all kinds of music though, I guess, you know. But I like it funky and I like it soulful, you know, so it touches you.
Yeah. Is that, do you think, because you came from the underground, but then with No Eyes you had a massive mainstream hit. I mean, when you produced the song, did you know straight away that this was going to go stellar?
Not at all, no. It was a B-side when the first time I put it out, so...
No way!
Yeah, I just thought, you know, actually I got approached by the vocalist through MySpace back then, and so this was my first try to work with vocals on house music, and I really liked the outcome, but I was like, oh, this is too much vocals for a house track, so it's great. Well, let's see what it does as a B-side, but then it did very well.
Yeah. So you put it out as a B-side. Was it then picked up by radio? Is that how it happened?
No, it was then... it was number 2 and number 1 on Beatport, so I think the A-side was number 2 and the B-side was number 1 on Beatport, and then the B-side stood longer on the charts and got the bigger track, and then it attracted attention of bigger labels, and so yeah, we licensed it to a major label.
Yeah, and then it went absolutely... Do you know how many... I mean, you can't really talk in sales anymore, but do you know how many streams it's up to at the moment?
No, I don't, because there's 2 different versions. Well, there's, I think 3, but there's 2 versions that share, like, their streams. So that's 2 big streaming versions, I guess. And I had them for quite a while, so I don't know. But I have a golden record somewhere on the wall, so it must have done pretty well.
Fantastic. It must have been quite strange having a kind of accidental hit. Were you tempted to kind of chase that and try and repeat that sort of level of crossover success?
Well, first off, I was tempted to repeat that in terms of making an album with full vocal tracks. So there would have never been the Charmer album, the first album, with the success of No Eyes, which, you know, gave me confidence to work on something like that, the crossover between deep house and vocals and pop music, ultimately. So that was the album number 1, but then, you know, it kind of worked for me, and people liked the album, and so I put out the second one, the third one, and there's gonna be a 4th one in the making right now. So obviously, as an artist, you don't really want to repeat yourself that much. But then again, having a hit record, you want to repeat that. So it's a bit of a contradiction there. So I might have repeated the formula to a certain degree, but always altered it a bit. So, and I never made the hit again in that terms of, there has been like remixes that were doing as well as No Eyes, but not an original song, even though I think there have been lots of great original songs that I did on the albums, but it's what it is, yeah.
It's a weird thing with big hits like that, isn't it? Because, I mean, some people just have that facility. They lock into whatever it is that defines a hit. It's just part of their kind of creative DNA. And other people stumble across it, kind of thing, like you did. And I just find that really fascinating, because it is... Big hits are kind of a slice of magic in a way. You know, they have a life of their own, sort of thing.
Yeah, I don't know what, a good example is Purple Disco Machine, I guess, a good friend of mine, who also, well, I guess I would even say, looking from the outside, he repeats his style even more obvious than I mean, I stumble around more, I take more freedoms, I take more risks, and I fail more. But he repeats his style over and over again, and it's a hit and another hit and another hit, which I admire him for that, but I couldn't, I just don't do it. I can't do it. I seemingly am not able to do it, but I can live with it. But it's interesting, as you said, there's these two different things, and how close can you be in repeating yourself without getting boring, or how exciting does it need to be for yourself as an artist,
Totally, yeah. No, it's really a tightrope walk, right? Because on the one hand, people need to hear a sound that they identify with you. At the same time, you can overdo that sound. It's not an easy process.
Yeah, on top of that, music changes. So even if I'd be able to repeat a No Eyes right now, which was 120 or 120 BPM, 118 BPM, very slow, very deep, very relaxed, very calm, long track, which now on Spotify you have 2.5 minutes tracks. It's like the times change and formats change, and even from 20 years ago we had vinyl, then we had CDs, and then we had downloads, and now we have streaming, and then there was TikTok, and everybody says this is the next, this is low. So who knows what it is and how we listen to music in 5 years, so.
I find it really, really interesting that the kids love their BPMs, right? Everything's jacked up about 10 BPMs more than we would pitch it, sort of thing. And they're also into really, really big trousers. I just find that like, whoa! Because when I was a kid, people used to wear those huge, and also the whole baggy thing in Manchester. It's weird how everything's kind of cyclic in a way, right? And I mean, are you tempted to jack your BPMs up a bit in response to what we're seeing on dance floors these days?
No, I'm not tempted anymore. I mean, I was tempted when there was one or two, three good tracks that I really liked with that jacked up tempo that for me made sense. But I think that's not Claptone, It would be a betrayal towards my sound if I'd be like coming from deep house and coming from take a deeper breath, It can be a little hectic with Claptone here and there, but it shouldn't be like hyper,
Sure. Oh, definitely. I mean, it's something that I always associate with you, with your music and with your DJ sets, is that it's kind of laid back. It's very sophisticated, which I think is why you have such a broad audience. But yeah, no, you definitely. I mean, you shouldn't move away from the kind of summery, laid back vibe that you create.
Yeah, I mean, I feel the same, and you could always do a side project where you can live your dream and do like all jacked up fast tracks,
Do a few GABA tracks.
Yeah, put on a different mask and do that.
Yeah. So, because this is Talkfest, which is part of the Portuguese Association of Festivals, we should talk a little bit about your experiences at festivals. Best and worst experiences at festivals?
I think there's a lot of good experiences. I love it when the food and the catering is amazing, which some festivals, do a really good job and others don't, especially in the UK they don't. Yeah, I mean, it's only fish and chips, most of them. And sometimes not even backstage catering, so you have to walk out to one of the stands and get some food. I mean, I don't know about Glastonbury because I haven't played it, but the ones that I played weren't too great. So I love it when they really care, and also the big win for a festival for me is if the driver knows the way to the festival, which I had in the US where they hired drivers that didn't know the way to the festival, which didn't go down well because I almost missed my gig because the driver didn't know where the festival was. So these things, I mean, you think they are a given, but also I think it was the first Soundstorm in Saudi Arabia. It was the same thing. They had a driver that drove us into the crowd, and suddenly we were stuck with people around us, and it completely lost its way. I mean, I'm glad we had time to go to the stage, but it was also almost that I missed my set. So that wasn't great. But I think, yeah, the worst experience on festivals was definitely the one everyone talks about, Fire Festival, because I was supposed to play it, and then they called and had me land So there was a transfer, but I had to land somewhere, and once I landed for the transfer, they said, don't come. And the most terrible thing about that was, I think, that I got paid the money beforehand, but then they wanted the money back, so they sued me after to get the money back. Even though, they were completely bankrupt, but then I think there's someone, trying to reduce the bankruptcy or whatever, and so I've had to give some of the money back, even though they told me actively to turn around, which was pretty ridiculous. So
it was certainly not your fault, right? I mean, is that normal to be paid upfront for a show?
Well, if you usually, it depends on the deal you have with the promoter. If it's a well-known promoter, you might go half-half. So that means like you get paid half in advance and the other half after the show. But if it's a dodgy feeling around something like the Fire Festival, I think everyone had a dodgy feeling around it already. They were like, okay, we need full payment, otherwise the artist is not gonna come. So that was the case, but even full payment doesn't really always help you, and it was in the US, so if you have more money for better lawyers, then you win the case, and you can even be threatened into agreeing to a deal outside of being sued or anything, because that in the end turns out cheaper to give away part of your fee than going to court, which eats out a lot of money. So I mean, they count on that, and the game is played like that. So yeah, that wasn't a great experience at all. Like Fire Festival, obviously everybody saw the documentary, and I'm glad I wasn't on the festival in the end. But still, the whole thing surrounding it was pretty dodgy. And I was shocked that there was seemingly, they tried to do another Fire Festival. I'm not sure if they're still trying to do that, or like these people should stay in jail. They shouldn't be allowed another festival.
Unbelievable. I mean, with the reputation they had, they actually tried again. That's well, some people are just insanely stubborn, right? It's like...
Yeah, well, yeah.
Anyway,
so a good experience, I think, was EDC Mexico City, which actually was just this weekend, but I played 2-3 years ago, and it was really, I think, one of the best gigs of my life. I feel like you're set up very high on the DJ booth, and you overlook, parts of the city with like over 40,000 people in front of you on main stage, and that was pretty great. So you can still see that on my YouTube. We did a stream that you can still click on Claptone YouTube with drone flights and all, so you can see all the people, and that was a pretty amazing feeling.
What is it about South American festivals? They usually have quite a special vibe, right? Not always, but I mean, quite often there's something, I don't know whether it's because electronic music is fresher to South American ears, or I don't know. I mean, I've only been to a couple, but I just found them really vibrant and special.
Yeah, the people are really into the music. They can connect pretty well to the electronic music. I don't know why that is. I mean, compared to, let's say, Asia is a bit different. They love their EDM, but they wouldn't connect to house music as much as the South Americans do. So, but don't ask me why that is and if it's a cliche or not, but the vibe on these festivals is amazing. Argentina, Colombia, like Brazil, yeah, really good. Yeah.
Amazing. Have you noticed a difference because obviously the festival scene has, I mean, I don't know whether it's down to COVID or just sociological shifts or whatever, but festivals are very different places to what they were 10 years ago, let's say. Have you noticed that?
Yeah, but it's always evolving to me, it's not as if, I mean, it's to be expected that festivals change, and there was a boom and there's a little bit of a down, and there'll be a boom again. I mean, I think, was it Mixmag projects like crazy numbers in the electronic music market in 10 years, to be made a lot more money than we make now. So seemingly there's a projection that'll be like going up again at one point. But now, yeah, we're in a kind of down in a valley, and somehow a lot of festivals last year got bankrupt. So it's a bit of a difficult year. I think last year was a bit of a difficult one, this year as well. Everything's more last minute in terms of bookings. Everyone's more careful. Interesting thing is that I think the promoter spends much more money on the actual headliner, so on the act that should carry his festival, and then not so much money on the middle tier, and just fills it up with whoever.
And nothing on the local acts who are just getting the biggest break in their life, right?
Well, yeah, I mean, at least the local acts don't get paid if they play. I guess that's it's interesting times, but it's always been interesting times, and you got to also understand the promoters and who puts on a festival, because production costs just tripled, and security costs, and like all these things that nobody really thinks about. They're so much more expensive that it's so much harder to make money with music festivals.
Totally. And there was going to be, for sure there was going to be a bit of a shakeout, right? Because somebody told me that in the Netherlands alone, there are something like 300 festivals a year. Obviously, some of them are kind of like 2 cows and a dog and 5 people sort of thing. But, I don't think any economy can sustain that sheer volume of events, right?
Well, hard for me to judge on it, but yeah, it was even before COVID that I think they had more festivals than weekends by far, or days in the year even. Don't ask me, but it was insane in the Netherlands. I think there's still a lot of dance music going on. They have their strong, hardcore sound, and there's lots of people that go to festivals, so they have a clientele. Not sure how much less it is in the Netherlands, but I think also they suffered a bit. It's not only that. It's I think a Europe-wide phenomenon, at least, if not UK and Europe, and even to an extent in the US, it's a bit lower. Like after COVID, though, everybody wanted to go out, wanted to spend the money they saved over COVID and go to festivals. So that's why it was booming after COVID. So it's really hard, to compare it or.
But your answer, Lee, is a perfect segue to the thing we were going to discuss about small clubs. They have really suffered, right? Because they've been left out of. It's like you and I grew up. For me, my local club, I'd be there twice a week, usually, something like that. I guess same for you. It's just a place where you go. You knew the bar staff, you knew people, you knew kind of what acts were on, stuff like that. That has, I think, COVID destroyed that for a whole generation. And that's one of the reasons why so many clubs are shutting down. Is it the same in Germany as it is in France and Britain and stuff? Are you seeing a lot of clubs that you used to know as a teenager closing?
Yeah, it's the same. Club culture, apart from in the big cities, is pretty dead. Even though I think with the resurgence in the different sound now, the faster sound that the kids really love. There is, new DJs that you don't have to overpay in a small club, and people love that kind of music. So there is a bit more going on. Still, it's hard to run a club on a benefit, on making money with it. It's not a business model if you run it. I mean, never really been. You had to be a music lover to run a club, always, I feel. And I told myself early in the game that I'll never run a club. Looking at the guys that ran my club, I was playing residency. And they were, obviously tried to not drink every night, but they also didn't pay taxes because and then at one point it caught up to them. So it's you have to pay taxes. So and you'll be found out if you don't pay taxes. But yeah, it's tough.
Especially when you're as visible as a club, it's.
Yeah, so I don't know. I mean, it's also I feel social media doesn't help clubs. All the Tinder, all this kind of stuff doesn't help clubs. So maybe time for clubs is over and people want to, buy a festival ticket and have one weekend where they go all out, and then they can tell their kids or whoever, their friends, that they've been at this festival and saw all these DJs, hand in the flyer and tag all the names.
Yeah.
And that's it.
And they don't drink alcohol anymore, which is the main source of profits for clubs in the old days.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, that's a good thing, I guess. Alcohol is a more dangerous drug than we all want to admit. But the problem is the downside, they take other drugs. So I don't know if that's better.
Yeah. We're running out of time. So a couple of records that changed your life.
Oh, God. I don't know. I think music changed my life when I was a kid and listened to the radio. It already changed my life. And then when I found out about all the different musical styles that are possible when house music came up, and even before that, when I listened to I think Billie Jean, or I don't know, when stuff like the Arila Kraftwerk, or then later on Enjoy the Silence by Depeche Mode, or stuff that really touched me and at the same time was completely electronic. There's so many influential tracks that it's really hard to just mention one or two.
Sure. Tips for staying happy and healthy on the road, because you hammer it. I mean, you're out there a lot, right? And staying sane is quite an art, I think.
Yeah, it's an art. I think I'm glad I got into this very old. So when I was 100 years old, I was starting DJing. I think it doesn't help when you're 18 and have all these options that you have when you're on the road. So it's better when you're already a little settled and you know that it's dangerous to, and anything leads into temptation, but you don't have to touch everything, or you don't have to, do all the stuff that is possible. But yeah, it's very easy to lose your balance. So I don't know, advice, I don't know. I mean, obviously you want to have fun on the road. What I do for my, sanity, I go record shopping wherever I have off days, in all the cities, in all the countries. Try to meet people that have, to do with, vinyl, and I collect vinyl, and that's my thing. It's a bit different to the music I produce, and it's a bit different to the format of music with the USB that you plug in and play. But I love the element of vinyl, that you hold something in your hand, that you can look at the cover, and that you meet like-minded people all over the world, and you visit all these record shops that all look different, have different kind of flavors and different tastes, especially in different countries, different pressings. And to me, that's fascinating, and that's kind of my meditation when I scroll through records,
Okay, fantastic. Finally, have you got any shows lined up in Portugal over the next few months?
Ooh, I think I do. I read something, but I wouldn't know from the top of my head. So sorry for that. Maybe you just check out my pages, and then you'll find out, because I don't know from the top of my head right now.
Okay, fantastic. Thank you so much. I know you're a busy man, and it was a real pleasure.
Thank you.
And we'll see you. I'll see you again sometime, somewhere.
For sure. See you guys soon. Thank you. Bye.